A lot has been in the news recently that all comes back to Joe Biden. There is a definite cover-up going on because if the truth got out, it would be devastating for Joe, but also for the Democratic Party and the mainstream media because they've been covering this up all along. This concerns the twice now arrested Alexander Smirnov, a man who worked for the FBI for years as an informant, who by the FBI's own words was a very trusted FBI source for years. And it also concerns the firing of Catherine Herridge from CBS News and the confiscation of all of her files and materials by CBS executives, which is just unheard of being done. Catherine Herridge, as an investigative journalist, is a national treasure because politics do not infect her thinking when she's doing a story of dirty, crooked politicians and dirty, crooked federal agents. And we're going to get into why she was fired the way she was. I'm going to present in this video the reason the evidence that the Biden White House, the DOJ, and the mainstream media have been trying to hide from you, the American people, for years now. The thing about it is, this evidence has always been out there in plain sight for anybody to see, only they knew where to look. So stick around to the end of this video and you will fully understand that the Democrats have created a police state in America, and we are living in it. I'm going to show you two videos that have audio in them of Joe Biden on the phone with the Ukrainian President Poroshenko, and you're going to love it. Guys, the video is long, but trust me, I don't let you down. The video is long because I have so much information to get out there, and if you get through the video, you will come out of it being light years ahead of your brain-dead leftist friends. This is the biggest political corruption story in our nation's history that originated from the White House. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. So Donald Trump was impeached because during a phone call with Ukraine President Zelensky, he asked about the criminal goings-on of Joe Biden and his family in Ukraine. I want you to stop and think for a second. They made up the Russian hoax of Russian collusion. The Democrats could have tried to impeach Trump for that, but they never did. But when he spoke with Zelensky and mentioned some shenanigans that went on, that's when they impeached him. Now, I submit to you, it was never about Russian collusion. It was about Ukrainian collusion. And it wasn't Trump who was doing the colluding. It was Joe Biden and many other Democrats who were colluding with Ukraine. And folks, for those of you that think that Ukraine is this sympathetic nation that is trying to be virtuous and getting over their own internal corruption and government, it's far worse. Ukraine was knee-deep in the 2016 election interference on behalf of the Democrat. Don't believe me? Just read what was written by Politico. Yes, Politico. Headline, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire, by Kenneth Vogel and David Stern. They have never taken it down. Sometimes Politico shocks the hell out of me. They're just one step above the Daily Beast as far as being a leftist rag chock full of lies, but I can attest that they are spot on with this because, well, most of it, because this story that they've written since has been corroborated all over the place about Ukraine's involvement. Among other things, here's what was written. Quote, Ukrainian government officials tried to help Hillary Clinton and undermine Trump by publicly questioning his fitness for office. They also disseminated documents implicating a top Trump aide in corruption and suggested they were investigating the matter, only to back away after the election. Oh, gee, I wonder why. And they're talking about Paul Manafort. And they helped Clinton's allies research damaging information on Trump and his advisors, a Politico investigation found. Now, what they're talking about there is the Russian collusion crap, but the stuff that Hillary Clinton paid for, the dossier. But they're also talking about Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort went to prison because of the supposed black ledger that never existed. The Democrats made up this black ledger. It never existed. And they got Manafort on a FARA violation. It's a Foreign Agents Registration Act, which means that if it's perfectly legal for an American to do business to lobby in the United States for a foreign government. So they were saying that Paul Manafort was doing lobbying in Ukraine and he never registered for the FARA. So they got him on a FARA violation. It's a felony. It's a big deal. So the piece goes on. A Ukrainian American operative who was consulting for the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, guys, met with top officials in the Ukrainian embassy in Washington in an effort to expose ties between Trump, top campaign aide Paul Manafort, and Russia, according to people with direct knowledge of the situation. People with direct knowledge of the situation means either they don't exist or they lied. It was later discovered that they were full of shit. Guys, I thought foreign countries getting involved in our elections was wrong. I thought it was a bad thing. To this day, the Democrats still scream, rant, and piss themselves, claiming that Russia colluded with Trump to win 2016. But that never happened. So now I'm going to play 2 recordings for you. These recordings are of Vice President Joe Biden on the phone with Ukrainian President at the time, Petro Poroshenko. Biden is trying desperately to get Privat Bank to shut down an operation of money laundering. Joe Biden threatens the Ukrainian president during the phone call, and you're going to hear it. The background on this, quickly, is that billionaire Ukrainian oligarch Ihor Kolomoisky was in trouble in Ukraine with their government for corruption. Joe Biden, as vice president, was appointed by Barack Obama to be the point man in Ukraine to clean up the corruption in the Ukrainian government. It was the equivalent of making the weasel in charge of security for the hen house. Joe Biden was pretty much running the government in Ukraine because he had the authority and the power to do whatever the hell he wanted because the Ukrainians were afraid of him because he was the American vice president. They knew he was crooked, and they knew that Barack Obama was crooked as well. And remember, folks, Joe Biden did not have the final authority on anything legally according to our Constitution and our system of law. The guy who wrote all the checks was Barack Obama. Keep that in mind. So this oligarch, Kolomoisky, he goes to Joe Biden and asks him to get him out of trouble using his authority in Ukraine. Biden says, sure, but you're going to have to pay for it. Now, the first recording that I'm going to play is Biden telling Poroshenko to shut down Privat Bank. Now, Privat Bank was owned by the oligarch Kolomoisky. It was the largest bank in Ukraine. He also had a little stake in this natural gas company called Burisma Holdings. To pay off Joe Biden for getting Kolomoisky out of trouble with the Ukrainian government, he laundered money from Privat Bank through Burisma Holdings at the tune of an estimated anywhere between $82,000 and $85,000 per month. And the way that they got away with saying that's the reason why the money was coming through was by claiming that Burisma Holdings hired Hunter Biden to be on the board of directors for Burisma Holdings. It's a pure money laundering situation. So what you're going to hear is Joe Biden telling Poroshenko that he wants him to get the governor, the president of Privat Bank, to shut down that operation because Donald Trump has now been elected and he's going to assume office pretty soon. And he doesn't want Trump to see the money coming out of Privat Bank going to America, to the Biden crime family, because then it will make Trump intelligent enough on the matter to take a look at the books and he would find out all the shenanigans that went on in Ukraine. Now, I have played these audio files of phone calls in past videos that I've done, and I put them in stories I've written over the last year and a half to 2 years. But right now, they're more important than ever. Okay, give this first one a listen. It's Joe Biden telling Poroshenko to shut down Privat Bank's operation.
Let me ask you one thing before I forget. Privat Bank. I understand the governor of the bank is tentative about setting a date certain for the transition to take place.
What transition, Joe?
And I'm being told secondhand that, I don't know this is her position for sure, that she is unsure of a date until she gets an agreement from you. Here's what I've told them. I've told them to get back to her and set a date, and I would talk to you about the date. Because this is getting very, very close. What I don't want to have happen, I don't want Trump to get in a position where he thinks he's about to buy onto a policy where the financial system is going to collapse and he's going to be looked to pour more money into Ukraine.
Did you hear that?
That's how he'll think about it before he gets sophisticated enough to know the detail. So anything you can do to push the Privat Bank to closure so that the IMF loan comes forward.
Now, did you hear that? That was the first threat. So anything you can do to get the Privat Bank closure, or else the IMF loan is not going to come through. That's what he was saying, guys.
I would respectfully suggest is critically
Where do you hear this one?
important to your economic as well as physical security. I know.
Critically important to his physical security. Did he just threaten the president of Ukraine?
It's difficult. I know Kolomoisky's a pain in the ass.
Kolomoisky, he mentions, is a pain in the ass. Kolomoisky was involved in the money laundering from Privat Bank that he had owned at the time, going through Burisma Holdings to be cleaned that way into the Biden crime family's coffers through Hunter Biden.
And a problem for everybody.
Guys, this has been out there all along, but without the proper context, if people found this, they wouldn't know what the hell was going on. All right, so the second phone call recording concerns Joe Biden getting Poroshenko to fire Viktor Shokin, who was Ukraine's prosecutor general. Shokin was investigating Burisma Holdings and was just about to call Hunter Biden in for questioning when the New York Times wrote a story about it, and that's what triggered Joe Biden, who then went on to get Poroshenko to fire the prosecutor who was about to bring down his son and probably Joe and a lot of other Democrats for corruption. Give it a listen. It breaks in a second. Right here.
Assuming that there is a new government and a new prosecutor general, I am prepared to do a public signing of the commitment for the $1 billion.
Now you're going to hear Poroshenko tell Biden that even though they did an investigation on Viktor Shokin, even though they found zero corruption, he fired him.
And despite of the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information about he doing something wrong, I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday, I especially asked him to resign.
There you go. That's all you need, guys. Those two recordings right there, put the cuffs on him. I mean, he was in collusion with corruption in Ukraine, in the Ukrainian government. Okay, so now the DOJ arrested Smirnov not once, but twice, because he was about to expose these audio tapes and other things through a press conference. Those tapes would destroy the Democratic Party right now because every lie they've ever told, and there is a mountain of lies on Ukraine and the Russian collusion, all that nonsense would have come out. And Catherine Herridge was fired because she had an investigation that she was running that was getting into all the total corruption of Joe Biden and other Democrats in Ukraine that they all tried to pass off on Trump, saying it was Russian collusion. But see, one of the problems they have is that Hunter Biden also did not file with FARA when it was said that he was lobbying on behalf of someone in Washington. Now, if Hunter gets hit with a FARA violation, that's huge, folks, because he's not going to be able to lie about who he was lobbying. It was obviously his father. So I'm sorry it took about 14 minutes to get this video done, but you had to understand the nuances of the story in order to be able to appreciate the level of corruption, the dirty tricks, the criminality that went on with the man who is now our president inside Ukraine. Our president who has spent billions upon billions of dollars for military aid to protect a country that has all this dirt hanging over his head like a sword of Damocles. All right, guys, smash the like button if you think Joe Biden needs to go down for these money laundering crimes and cover-ups in Ukraine. And subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Please share these videos with like-minded friends who want to stay informed with what's really going on. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.
You got me feeling like